What is up, Canada? What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here. Hope you guys are having a good Monday. And today we're going to be talking about some of the most affordable cities in Ontario. And I'm going to be comparing that against what I consider to be some of the best investment cities in Ontario. And what you guys want to bet, there's some overlap there, but it's not perfect overlap either. So jump in the comment section. Let me know what cities in Ontario are you currently investing in, or what cities are you thinking of investing in? Meanwhile, I'll let you guys know exactly what's going on here in Ontario. And so what we're talking about today was all sparked by a recent Zolo article that came out, just kind of ranking a bunch of Canada's different cities. And this got picked up by the mainstream media. So here's Toronto CTV News, but this really is all based upon this Zolo. Oh, I'm not doing screen share. How did that not happen? All right. So you guys can hopefully see that. Sorry about that. So this was all based upon a recent article that was put out by Zolo. They're a real estate platform here in Canada. And essentially they were ranking different cities and different areas to live in based upon affordability. And so this got picked up by the mainstream media. And so specifically, here's the actual article from Zolo. Encourage you guys to check it out if you're interested. And what they were really looking at was three factors when trying to establish, the most affordable market. So looking at affordability. So I believe this was comparing home to price ratio and what the average income was. Yeah, the average housing cost as determined by the Zolo market, and the average income for single income earners as well as households. Then looking at the unemployment rate and then population growth. And based upon this, they kind of determined the total score. So again, there were some cities here I was not surprised to see, and a couple that, I'm kind of surprised. I'd love to get your guys' thoughts from affordability standpoint. Again, obviously, I haven't dived deep into their numbers, so I'm going to take their word for these numbers here. But seeing Windsor and London at the top of this list from an affordability standpoint, yep, that does not surprise me whatsoever. In fact, I would have been surprised if they weren't near the top of this list, especially when we're looking at larger city centers in Ontario. And so for the point of this survey or this article, they define larger city centers as 100,000 plus population. When we're thinking about cities larger than 100,000 in Ontario, right away, Windsor and London, those are the two markets that I immediately go to when I'm thinking of both like cheap, as in it's just a low cost price point, as well as affordable, as in compared to what people earn in that market, they can also afford to buy a house. And a few markets that weren't on this list that I'm kind of surprised by, and I haven't had enough time to really dive deep into what held them back. So St. Catharines and Niagara, I'm a little surprised that they ranked as low as they did. And part of that is just based upon their actual average home price. And so I know it has been creeping up. And in fact, this is something we talk about with Kayla, our local expert, regularly on the YouTube channel. So once a month, Kayla comes on and talks about it to us. But I think if you were to drop out like one or two of the really high cost areas, like Niagara on the Lake, right, which I think we've been seeing trend up to $1 million plus. If you were to kind of drop that out of there, I think all of a sudden you would find St. Catharines and Niagara becoming a lot more affordable, and they'd probably climb up this list pretty good. I was surprised to see Guelph. I actually think of Guelph as being a relatively expensive market, and again, was surprised to see it so affordable. But once you kind of take into consideration that they're also looking at the average income, well, Guelph is normally an above average income for kind of its area or anything west of Toronto. So again, from that perspective, that starts to make a little bit more sense as I looked a little bit deeper into this. Again, love to hear your thoughts and your opinions, and then we'll compare about this affordability to whether that really makes sense or matters to us from an investment standpoint. Outside of this, Brantford, that was one city I was really shocked not to see here. I'm going to guess if the reason Brantford didn't make the list was simply due to the fact that probably it's got a lower income, average household income. But even then, I would have thought it would have squeezed up. So I don't know if something like average unemployment or something else really impacted it in regards to its ability to qualify here. But Brantford's one that from an investment as well as an affordability standpoint, I actually think is very affordable. And when we compare it to a market like Guelph, it's substantially cheaper to acquire a property in a city like Brantford. So Brantford's one of the cities that stood out to me. And then St. Catharines and Niagara, I expected to see higher up on the list. Now, when we're looking at this from the view of what's a good investment city, yep, I like Windsor. I like London because we can absolutely cash flow there. Barrie, Again, a little bit surprised to see Barrie as affordable, but I think it can make a lot of sense for us as investors. And if you guys haven't been following along with the videos that we're currently doing with Colby Marshall and Barrie, one of the ways that they're able to really maximize the value from these rental properties in Barrie is by looking at building not just like an income suite in the basement, but by actually adding a garden suite. And so I think it was actually just this weekend that we had a new video come out on garden suites. So if you guys want to jump back, just look at the last couple of uploads we've done and you'll see a recent video with Colby. But that's one really interesting strategy to help you really maximize the potential or the profit from a property if you're looking to invest in the Barrie area. Now, Canada, that makes sense to me on the surface, but I just don't know the market that well. So I'll take your word for it. Guelph, again, a little bit surprised. I think Guelph's a difficult market to invest in cash flow well, unless maybe you found a small little niche with students in Guelph. But even then, I think it's very difficult. Hamilton, yeah, Hamilton's getting pretty expensive from an investor standpoint these days. But for someone looking to live in the greater Toronto Hamilton area, it's still relatively affordable compared to areas like Oakville and Burlington. St. Catharines, yep, not surprised to see that there. Waterloo, from an investment standpoint, I personally prefer Kitchener, and I would likely lead towards Kitchener or Cambridge if I was looking to invest in the Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge area. But that's just me as an investor. Kingston, I think there is some interesting upside, but we've done a couple of deep dives into Kingston in the past. And, the thing that concerns me is the population growth for Kingston projected over the next 20 years. Now, this was all pre-COVID data, but projected over the next 20 years is actually a lower population growth than a lot of the other areas surrounding it on the southeast of Toronto. So, yeah, south, the east of Toronto, south, not so much, but south of Ottawa area. So then when we're moving on to the medium-sized cities, because they actually did break this down for us into different categories. That's my small size. Here's my most affordable small. Oh, I got two. Most affordable medium-sized. There we go. Yeah. So what we've got here is Sarnia, Thunder Bay, Sudbury, Stony Creek, Sault Ste. Marie, Cornwall, Chatham, Leamington, North Bay, and Orangeville. Now, a lot of these markets, not surprised to see them, and I think there is some interesting potential. And a lot of these, Sarnia is high on our list. I think it's got a very robust economy going right now, although some of the crazy pipeline stuff, and some of the perspective from U.S. government officials, you may want to really look into that. But outside of some kind of random events like that, I think Sarnia is a very attractive market for real estate investors, especially when we compare it to its nearby neighbor like London, Ontario. Certainly, you can find a lot stronger cash flow in that market. Thunder Bay, again, Thunder Bay doesn't have a great population growth perspective from my opinion when you look at, Stats Canada's projections over the next 20 years. However, it's still a very affordable market to get into. And, it's literally the cheapest average home price right now on this list of medium-sized cities. So I think that's one of the reasons that you find a lot of people being drawn towards Northern Ontario is that low entry point. Sudbury is one of the only markets in Northern Ontario expected to grow from a positive population perspective. And if I was picking a market in Northern Ontario, it'd probably be Sudbury or North Bay that would be getting my attention. And one of the reasons that I'm bullish on North Bay is if you guys remember previously this year, we were talking about how for U-Haul trailers, North Bay actually had the greatest net percentage of inflow of U-Haul trailers. So the assumption there is a lot of people decided during COVID to move to a lower cost of living area like North Bay, and hence the huge U-Haul trailer migration or truck migration, I guess. Stony Creek, Sault Ste. Marie, Cornwall. Yep. Again, there's definitely opportunities in those markets. I'm not nearly as familiar with those markets. Now, a market like Chatham, again, that's a market that we do a lot more active investing in. Right now, I think I've got about maybe 3 or 4 buildings, I think, that we've got in Chatham. It works out to about 40 units, I want to say. And I believe we'll be closing on another 60 or so units in the coming 3 to 4 months. So definitely bullish on the Chatham real estate market. But again, like all these markets that we're talking about today, you can't just blindly invest in any market in Canada and just be able to cross your fingers and count on making money. I think at this moment in time, in this moment in the market cycle, you need to be more dialed into the details and the data than ever before. And this is why, paying attention to things like affordability, paying attention to the monthly CREA stats, right? The Canadian Real Estate Association stats that we talk about all the time. It's so important that you guys are actually paying attention, investing the time and energy into making sure that you understand what's going on. Now, Leamington, this kind of jumps out to me. I don't know enough about Leamington, but I am shocked that their average home price is $639,000. Seems like a lot for a place that makes ketchup. But again, I don't dig deep into it, but just I guess maybe there's some nice waterfront properties there. Maybe that drives it up. I know there's a lot of marijuana grow-op companies. Maybe there's some larger properties or executives are moving into that region because of those new opportunities. But I am really surprised that Leamington is so much more than Chatham when I kind of think of them as kind of similar cities. And let me know if you're a local Chathamite or Leamingtoner. If that's offensive, let us know in the comment section. But I really think of those as being relatively two similar markets. And to see that discrepancy in average house price is interesting. Obviously, I need to do more homework. And then Orangeville, I don't know a lot about Orangeville. I worked there for like a couple of months and lived there. But I'm actually surprised that Orangeville hasn't grown in population as much as I would have thought, because it seemed perfectly ripe to really explode. But let's jump over now to the small size cities. And actually, no, before we do that, the last thing I wanted to hit on here, one city that I felt a little bit surprised that wasn't here was St. Thomas. So recently, St. Thomas has been getting some love for one of the better places to live in Ontario, one of the more affordable places. And to me, you can get strong cash flow there. And it's also very affordable. And yet you can work in a higher cost of living area like London, Ontario, right? Is an easy commute. But jumping over to the smaller cities, now this is where we get into things that I'm going to argue none of this data even matters almost. When we're dealing with like a population of 800 people, there's not enough data here to really even be able to draw any sort of conclusion. So yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing these markets other than obviously for us investors, be aware that these smaller markets will come with a lot less liquidity. And what that means is if you buy a property here, it may take a while for you to be able to turn around and sell it. And so I know a lot of investors these days are drawn to markets, particularly like Pembroke and Timmins, and even actually Clinton comes up a lot now too, when people are chasing returns. However, you need to make sure that the underlying fundamentals in those markets make sense for you based upon what you're trying to do before you just blindly go chasing returns. Because, Clinton maybe looks cheap at $182,000 an average home price, but understand how many properties are actually selling per year in Clinton, right? Not that many. And certainly I can't imagine there's that many selling in Rainy River. And something seems just a little suspicious about that average home price of $10,000. So again, I think that may be a little bit of a misnomer here. The average home price is $10,000. The sleepy border town, abundant renewable resource. Let's find out where Rainy River is, guys. Should we just go move to Rainy River? Rainy River. Because that does not make sense to me at all that it's 10,000. Maybe we'll just go buy the entire town. So where are we? All right. So we're tucked over there. I don't want to say this wrong, but I think I know where we are. Okay, yeah, no, I didn't even know that was Fort Francis. So I didn't even know Fort Francis existed. So Rainy River, I just actually need to pull this up on Realtor now because I'm curious. Realtor.ca. Do you guys think there's actually going to be a house for sale for under $100,000 in Rainy River? Let's tuck up over here. Hold your breath. Go to find out what Rainy River's best has to offer. Oh, lowest price. No, I don't see anything that really looks like a house. These all look like lots. What a bunch of BS. We got to spend $115,000 to buy a house. I wonder if they just dropped a 0 or a 1 there. I feel like it must have been like, it must be 100,000 or 110,000, right? Although again, this is pretty affordable. I'll give you that. I have no idea though. There's only 800 people here. Maybe you can get some government employees though at the border crossing. Although that's probably closed right now. But one other thing that I thought I'd bring up that they covered in the CTV news article that was interesting was a recent survey done by Robert Half found that 33% of employees working from home said they would quit their job if they were forced to return to the office full time. And the survey also found that 51% of workers would prefer a hybrid approach with a split working both at home and the office. And one of the reasons I bring this up is just when we're looking at and discussing the idea of these smaller, maybe commuter cities, these lower cost of living areas, is are we seeing habits and patterns change, right? And human consumption and behavior, particularly in regards to like working behavior in this case, are we going to see a huge migration or shift of individuals wanting to telecommute, work from home? And if so, does that mean that lower cost areas like a Chatham or a Leamington or some of the other markets that we mentioned earlier, again, Rainy River doesn't feel exactly the same because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. But a lot of these other areas that we've been discussing are a short commute to larger metro areas that have all the amenities that you'd normally associate with high cost of living areas. So if we see people no longer needing to live in that high cost of living area for work, will they choose to actually move, live in a lower cost of living area? And does that either present opportunities or challenges for us as real estate investors? I'm inclined to say yeah to both. I think that there will definitely be certain challenges, but I definitely see huge opportunities here as a real estate investor if we can really start to understand where the mindset is of the average individual right now that is looking to rent. And again, there's a lot of different, like, right now, we're all able to live in our own little bubble of reality, right? With COVID and what's going on in the world. And so again, you may need to dial in and figure out what is my target demographic? What is my target renter? Where are they at in life right now? One of my buildings, we're particularly specializing in kind of young millennials that are just looking for a place to crash short term while they maybe figure out the next stage. And so one of the things that we're able to do to position ourselves well towards that target demographic is by making the properties lightly executive furnished. So what that means is you can kind of show up with your suitcases, you can bring any personal belongings, maybe art that you want to hang up. But outside of that, you don't necessarily need to plan a moving truck. You don't have to bring your bed if you don't want to. You don't have to bring any bulky or clumsy furniture. And so if you're looking at maybe trying out a low cost of living area like London, and you're coming from a Toronto, maybe you want to just throw your stuff in storage or put back in mom and dad's for a bit, come test the waters here in London. And that's something we're able to kind of build out when we're thinking about the avatar of people that we may be attracting to our buildings. So again, obviously you need to sit down and really do the due diligence on what your business model is, what you're trying to accomplish as a real estate investor. But I think that there are going to be some really interesting opportunities on the horizon. But as we've been talking throughout 2021 for sure, and I think we were even talking about it back in 2020, the market is getting frothy, and it's important that you're really doing your due diligence at this point in time. Just throwing a dart and counting on 20 or 30% year over year appreciation, I think is a fool's game. I would not encourage you to be taking those bets at this point in time. And so again, just want to encourage you guys, dive deeper into doing your own research, right? Reach out to a realtor, get that comp realtor, as we often talk about, a realtor that's willing to go and pull the comparable sales and the data you need to be able to make informed decisions as a buyer. More important than ever. So if you haven't already built up that relationship with a realtor, get on the phone, start sending out emails, hit them up in their DMs, whatever it takes, but start building those relationships because you need a pipeline of data to be making the right decisions as an investor at this point in time in the market. And let me know, are you currently buying? Are you selling? Or where do you currently land? Because I always think people are either buying or selling. If you're sitting on the sidelines, I mean, what's really the point there? But again, let me know, are you buying in Rainy River? Are you looking to buy in Chatham? What about Leamington? Trying to get some of that catch-up money? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know if you're just sitting on the sidelines. At what point in time you'll know is the right time to come off the sidelines. So again, if you're waiting for a drop, at what level do you know it's dropped enough or are you just going to wait until it hits they're giving houses away for free? Because based upon the cost of lumber right now, I think you might be waiting a while before they start giving away houses for free. But appreciate you guys watching this video. If you got value from this video, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new to my channel. I'll see you in the next video.